What's up, boys? We're back with another video with your boy Rome. We got a little bit of arms on the agenda today. Nothing too crazy, nothing too bonkers. It's a nice, beautiful Friday. It took long enough here in Michigan for this nice weather to come around. But with that being said, we got an arm day. Nothing too crazy, like I stated earlier. Feel like it's gonna be a quick one. I got all my cardio done this morning. I woke up, my body's like a time clock now. Wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day to do my cardio. Whether I want to or not, my body won't let me go back to sleep until we get it done, which I'm grateful for. Thank you, body, for waking me up and keeping me accountable. But with that being said, I did wake up at 5 in the morning. I did an hour, about an hour and a half, just under an hour and a half in cardio. So I got all that done. So we pretty much just got the lift today, boys. We just got the lift today. But I'm going to go ahead, get inside. I already took my pre straight to the dome, so I'm getting the itchies a little bit. So we're going to go ahead, get inside, and hit some arms. But I'll catch you boys in the gym. All right, boys, we got a little bit of triceps. We're going to start with triceps here. After this, we'll rotate over to biceps. But I kind of want to drop a little bit of knowledge on you boys. Hold on. But I feel like I touched on lipids pretty well, 20 to 25%. And the reason why you want it at 20 to 25% and not lower than that, because if you go lower than that, then it starts to fluctuate your hormones. It starts to pretty much interfere with your overall bodily functions. And it can really take your estrogen. It can affect your testosterone. 20 to 25% is how you're going to keep your hormones in a healthy state, to where it's like, okay, I don't have to worry about necessarily completely tanking my testosterone or completely spiking my estrogen, or my internal functionality is running at a decent pace, right? So that 20 to 25% is a recommended spot, just because it allows for your body to keep functioning at a high or moderate functionality, right? So that's what I'd recommend. But I know you're probably thinking, Rome, let's hit this next set. Let's get it. No, all jokes aside, I know you're probably thinking, Rome, if I'm only intaking 400, 500 of my overall calories coming from fats, that leaves me with about 1,600 to 1,500 coming from carbohydrates, right? If I'm intaking 220 grams of protein, or if I'm intaking, we'll just say for baseline, 200 grams of protein, that's 800 calories. That's realistically anywhere from 1,200 to 1,300 calories. That leaves me anywhere from 700 to 800 calories left. Yes, that's going to come from carbohydrates. And then this is something that I'd recommend, that when you're in a diet, I would pull from the carbohydrates, kind of try to keep the protein and fat context consistent through the whole dieting phase. But where we're going to pull the calories is going to be from the carbohydrates, right? As we get deeper into the carbohydrates, as those calories pull, we will pull it more from carbohydrates. Again, it kind of plays into your sensitivity. If you work better with lipids, we'll adjust the lipids, keep the carbohydrates and proteins kind of consistent. But for the majority of people, they work a little bit better with carbohydrates. For the masses, carbohydrates is going to be the go-to. So as you get deeper into the diet, you don't necessarily want to adjust those lipids. You don't necessarily want to adjust those fats. I'm not fats, but protein. You want to kind of keep that at a constant base. You may adjust the fats a little bit, but I mean, that's as you get deeper into the cut, you can kind of fluctuate those numbers depending on the range, right? To keep it in that 20 to 25 range. But with that being said, carbohydrates are going to be mainly where you pull from. And I try to have, when I'm in like a maintain phase, at least a 1-for-1 with carbohydrates, and then for carbohydrates and protein. And then for the bulk, I try to have a 1-for-2 at least, if I'm trying to build mass, a 1-for-2 for protein, right? So if I'm intaking 250 grams of protein, I'm going to at least take 500 grams of carbohydrates, right? And this is deep into the bulk, and obviously it goes up from there, but keeping that baseline of fats, 20 to 25%, that's kind of consistent year round. But carbohydrates and protein are going to be the things that may fluctuate a little bit. Carbohydrates are going to fluctuate a lot more than protein will, But that's kind of where you want to push and pull your calories from, right? You're trying to bulk, you're trying to grow, you want to push those carbohydrates, right? Increase those carbohydrates, increase that glucose. And then obviously on the reverse end, if you're trying to cut, you're trying to cut down those carbohydrates, cut those carbohydrates out. And obviously, like I said, this is because that's your primary source of energy. That is going to be your body's preferred source of energy, right? That's going to be the first thing it goes to when it's burning calories throughout the day. When you're sleeping, when you're walking around doing your daily tasks, when you're doing your cardio, when you're training, your body is pulling that energy from carbohydrates, right? Because that is the primary source. The only time that this might not be the sense is if you're in a state of ketosis, which when you're in a state of ketosis or you're on a keto diet, what happens with that is it pretty much flips the order that your body's burning calories, right? So now your primary source of energy that your body's burning is going to come from lipids instead of glucose. And you might think, oh, Romeo, that sounds amazing. But again, if you do that for a long duration, we kind of come back to the hormonal phase thing to where if you're consistently fluctuating that number, that's going to fluctuate your hormones. You're kind of running the risk, right? You're running the risk of messing with your hormones long term. I wouldn't necessarily recommend like a keto or a carnivore diet long term, just because that's a diet that's reliant on higher protein, higher lipids. And then with that lipid fluctuation, it's just going to fluctuate your hormones. That's not something I would recommend. It's very health wise, it's a little bit better to fluctuate the carbohydrates because those won't affect you as much internally. They really just more have an effect on external factors, right? How you're looking, how you're filling out, how your muscles are growing. That's going to be kind of the extent that the carbohydrates are going to have on your body, to where lipids are more of an internal factor, right? To where, if for my car guys out there, how I like to explain it is, it's like carbohydrates are going to be like your fuel type, right? The cleaner you get with the carbohydrates, obviously, the better it's going to be for your overall car. And then on top of that, there's quick digestive carbohydrates, slow digestive carbohydrates, and I can kind of get into that into a later video. But for car reference, for an analogy, gasoline is going to be carbohydrates, and then lipids are going to be your internal oils. This is going to be your coolant. This is going to be your oil. This is going to be your antifreeze. This is going to be your trans fluid. Things that kind of keep the car functioning, keeping the car running at max capacity. That's going to be your lipids, right? So you don't want to consistently adjust those variables, just because if you're consistently adjusting those variables, you're consistently adjusting those oils, you're consistently adjusting those internal factors that really have a long-term effect on how the car is going to run. But a little bit of tidbit on that. We'll get back to my explanation. I can't remember where I was at. I kind of went on a long rant there, but we're gonna hit a set here, boys. Honestly, we might hit 2 sets before I get back to yapping. Doing a lot of yapping today. All right, felt good. That felt good. We got 2 more there, boys. 2 more. All right, let's hit this next set. One more there, boys. I'm taking another swig of water, and then we'll get up to the next set. I want to adjust the handle. I don't want to necessarily just yap the whole time. I do want to yap, kind of be able to drop that knowledge. But I do want to keep the pump. I'm obviously in here to grow. We're in prep. I want to kind of stay consistent, make sure I'm staying on track. But like I said, I did have a conversation with my boy yesterday. And I was like, you know what? That is a little bit of a knowledge that, like, I would like to be able to share, like to be able to kind of give it to my homies so they can, we can all look good this summer. I'm not trying to gatekeep the 6-pack. I'm trying to make sure we all have 6-packs. If I'm eating or not eating, I want my homies to eat or not eat with me. Obviously not eat as in like we're just all dieting and miserable together, but we're going to look great when we hit the beach. And that's all that matters. So I'm going to take a swig of water and we'll get out to the next set, boys. All right, let's hit the last set here, boys. And then I'm going to switch the handle. Then we'll get back to yapping a little bit. Oh. All right, boys. I'm going to grab the W handle. We'll set that up, be able to do push downs, and then that'll be able to kind of transition us into biceps, which will be nice. We'll start with wide grip W bar curls, do some rope curls, and then one more variation of curls. And then that'll be it for today. But I'm going to go grab the handle. I'll be right back, boys. All right, boys. So I feel like we did a decent amount of yapping about lipids. You know, I went on for that. But fats are an important thing, right? They pretty much make sure our body's functioning at a good spot. Make sure we're functioning well internally. You know, make sure everything's kind of moving smoothly. Making sure everything's kind of rocking the way we need it to. Keeping everything in order, which is a win. Let's get back to the goods. The meat. The bread. I'm talking about the protein and carbohydrates. So, with that being said, you do kind of want to structure it a little bit more protein carbohydrate meal, or at least that's how I'd recommend for the masses, is higher protein, higher carbohydrate, moderate to low fat context is going to be an optimal for a cut. And then obviously you want to fluctuate the numbers right away. But what I would recommend is waiting about 2 weeks. Give your body about 2 to 3 weeks at a certain calorie, right, to get accustomed to that, and then adjust from there. After 2 to 3 weeks, usually you can kind of see or at least understand, hey, I'm losing weight or I'm not losing weight. My body's rocking here or my body's not rocking here. So you understand, okay, fantastic. We're moving in the right direction or we're not moving in the right direction. I need to adjust the numbers accountable, right? To where if 2 to 3 weeks go on and you haven't lost any weight and you've kind of stayed where you're at, 2,000 calories of maintenance. If you gained weight, then you're like, okay, 2,000 calories might be a little bit too much. Let's start dropping. If you're losing weight, obviously that's optimal. Then you'd be like, okay, this is right around where we should be. Maybe we fluctuate depending on how much you're losing. Maybe we fluctuate a little bit, or we could stay here, kind of keep the pace, see if we're going to keep dropping at the right pace. You might be thinking, Rome, what's the right pace of calories dropping? I would probably say a pound to 2 pounds a week. Pound to 2 pounds a week is healthy. If you drop more than that within the first couple weeks, that's completely understandable. That's usually just water. That's your body getting accustomed to, dieting. So that first week or two, you might lose 5-6 pounds, right? That's an extreme case, but that might be a scenario where you lose 5-6 pounds that first week and you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm in a super deficit. No, you're not in a super deficit. Your body's just kind of flushing all that water off you, right? We're flushing that water off you, and then now we're trying to burn that fat, right? Burn those excess stores of fat. Your body's like, okay, we got all the water out of us. We're done being a water buffalo. We're done being a bear in hibernation. Let's go ahead and get shredded. Let's get shredded for the summer, But did a lot of yapping here. Moral of the story, I would keep your fat intake in between 20 to 25% of your overall net caloric intake, whatever that may be. And then I would try to match per pound with grams of protein. And then obviously fluctuate the numbers a little bit. If you're trying to grow, maybe have that protein a little bit higher. If you're like, you know what, I'm good with where I'm at, maybe keep that protein at least matching your body weight. I wouldn't necessarily recommend dropping below that, because then you're just going to lose muscle mass. And unless you're trying to lose muscle mass, which I don't know anybody that's really trying to do that. If you're trying to do that, I mean, drop it below by all means. But it's kind of a good rule of thumb to at least say, okay, my body weight's at here. I want to intake X amount of protein, right? Or my goal body weight's here. Let me go 20 pounds or set it 20 pounds above that goal weight, just to make sure I'm maintaining at least what I had, if not able to grow into the cut. Which a lot of people, especially if you don't train often, if you're kind of just getting into it, you probably will be able to grow into the cut, because your body's transitioning into a phase that it hasn't necessarily been in. It's going to adapt, and your body's way of adapting, your body's way of adjusting to working out, training, eating healthier, and increasing the protein intake is going to be by adding muscle mass. So, I mean, for your first cut, especially if you're newer to the game, you might grow into the cut. The likelihood, I'd probably say, of you growing into the cut is probably a lot higher than it would be necessarily for a veteran lifter. And that's, I mean, good for you. Good for you, At the end of the day, you're getting lean while getting huge. That's a win, brother. We'll take that when we take that. You know what I mean? But I would try to go 1 for 1 body weight per grams of protein. That's a good kind of rule of thumb. And then when we go to the final thing, my favorite thing, because I'm a glutton for glucose, and I'm a glutton for glucose because I love my sweet treats. You know what I mean? And sweet treats are usually a little bit heavier in carbohydrates. They do have a moderate amount of fats, but I mean, I'm a baked good guy. So with that being said, it's like, okay, I do kind of have to be conscious that most baked goods are higher in fats. At least the majority of their like a majority of the calories that make up baked goods are going to come from fats. Most people think it's glucose, which I thought was glucose for a long time, but you have to understand it's a lot of oils, it's a lot of butters. So a lot of the calories in baked goods are going to come from fats, not necessarily carbohydrates, but it still is a higher carbohydrate context. That's why crumble cookies are like 1,000 calories, because they're great cookies, but they use a lot of butter, they use a lot of fats when they're baking it, and when you look at the macros, you might get 100, maybe anywhere from 50 to 100 grams of carbs, and you're like, oh, that's not terrible. 50 to 100 grams of carbs, that's only 200 to 400 calories. That's not terrible at all, right? Then you look at it, it's also 100 grams of lipids. When you think about that, 100 grams of lipids is 900 calories. That's fucking deadly. That's almost half of your caloric intake if you're trying to diet just in one cookie, in one serving, right? You're getting half your calories from fats. And then that's where you can kind of fluctuate. The hormones start to fluctuate. That's where, I mean, you might feel not as great. You're spiking your estrogen. Not only are you spiking your estrogen, you're starting to spike your insulin because you're taking an excess amount of glucose on top of fluctuating those internal oils, which is just overall not good, not bad. But for carbohydrates, I try to keep that at least consistent with the protein while I'm in a cut. And then obviously, as you get deeper in the cut, you can adjust that, take away from the carbohydrates. But if you're trying to maintain, try to keep those at least consistent with one another. And if you're trying to bulk, obviously you want to increase the protein a little bit because the goal is to grow and obviously to grow and recover. Protein's a key phase for that. It's going to be a key thing you want to incorporate. And then obviously we incorporate more carbohydrates the deeper we get into the growth phase. But that's just a little bit of a tidbit. That's how I would recommend a newer person trying to get into the gym to kind of structure their diet. If you're just trying to get ready for the gym, I'm not the gym, but just get ready for summer. 2,000 calorie diet baseline, that's good. And then you can kind of play with the numbers from there. And for the people that are thinking, well, Rome, isn't it a little too late for me to learn my body? It is not. You still have 2 months before it really starts getting nice outside. You have 2 months before the carnivals start. You have 2 months before people start going to the beach or people bust out their boats. So really, you have 2 months to really learn your body, understand where you should be at, and then that'll kind of set you up for a good spot for when summer rolls around. You're like, okay, I'm on my boy's boat and I'm lean. I feel good. I feel green. It kind of allows you to understand your body, learn your body, and then adjust that accordingly. But we're gonna go ahead and get some push downs, boys. I did a lot of yapping today. There's one more thing I want to touch on, yapping wise. But for the most part, for the rest of the lift, I might crack a joke here or there. Talk to you boys a little bit, but I want to kind of focus a little bit more on the lift. So with that being said, let's get these push downs. We got 3 more there, boys. 3 more there. All right, boys. As you can see, I took the shirt off. It's a little toasty. I was like, you know what? We're getting a little bit leaner. I am 5 meals in, so I'm a little fluffy. But I was like, you know what? Let's be that guy today. Be that fucking guy. We're in the gym. They got the nice lighting going here. Let's train with the shirt off. I feel comfortable enough to do it now. The abs are in even when I'm obviously full from a majority or almost all my meals. So that's a win. But let's go ahead and get it. We got 2 more there, boys. 2 more sets there. Feel like that's a win. We're over here, cutting. We're cutting. Hold on. See how it looks. A little bit of a back double for you boys real quick. Boom. But embarrassed. If you guys can't tell, I'm a nerd. I get embarrassed. I'm a shy guy. It'd be like that. But feeling good. I feel like the cut's moving along. Like I said, I've gotten pretty much all my meals in this morning. I started my morning at 5 in the morning. It is now like 3 going on 4 o'clock. Pretty much got all my meals in. My last meal will be about 6 o'clock. I try to at least space out my meals to where if I eat 6 meals in a day, so try to have all my meals in by 6 p.m. And then obviously my body wakes me up at 5 a.m. I prefer to train with some food behind me, or at least do my cardio behind me. Blah, blah, blah. At least do my cardio with food behind me. So that I usually start my meals in between 5 or 6 in the morning. And then I just try to end them by 6 in the afternoon, right? 12-hour span where I'm eating every 2 hours. If I start them at 5, then it kind of plays out to where I'm eating every 2 hours and 10 minutes. And that's kind of like how I've been doing it for the past 3 or 4 weeks. And it's worked out really well like that. You know, it's been really nice. It's been really good. And then by the time I wake up in the morning, I'm fasted. I get the nice look of me without all my meals, feeling good, feeling great, feeling green, seeing what I'm looking like. And then from there, we'll start. We'll kick it off. But I'm going to go ahead, get this next set, boys. All right, we got one more there. After we do the one more there, we'll go ahead and do a little bit of biceps, boys. Transition onto the biceps. But you might think, Rome, I think we're a little fuller. Rome, we're looking a little fluffy. The abs aren't like fully lined out. Yeah, I get that. But that's because I'm a gallon and a half of water in and 5 of my 6 meals. I've eaten all my carbohydrates for the day. I've eaten majority of my lipids for the day. I've consumed a mass amount of my calories. So I'm going to be a little fuller, be a little bit fluffier. But I mean, if you guys are over at the Instagram, I plan on dropping, I have check-in Saturday. So I plan on dropping that for you boys. Kind of let you guys see what we look like check-in wise, fresh in the morning. Because I haven't dropped that yet. You guys kind of know what I look like as the day progresses, as the day goes on. But you guys haven't got that fresh in the morning look. So I have check-ins with my coach Saturday, which we just started rocking. I've been coaching myself pretty much all prep. So this whole prep, I've been handling it. But I posted on Instagram. We had a quick conversation. I was like, hey, man, if I'm rocking with anybody, I want to rock with you. If you want to coach me, awesome. My game plan is due to Michigan. After Michigan, we're going for the USAs. And if you want to rock with me, I'd love for you to rock with me. We kind of had a conversation, came to the conclusion that, hey, let's rock. Let's get this done. We have some unfinished business. And I can't elaborate or just, put into words how happy I am to be working back with him. Kind of adds a little bit more comfort back to my peace of mind, because even though I feel like I know enough, I feel green, I feel good, it is nice to have that second pair of eyes, that second individual that can kind of look at me and be like, okay, we are on pace, or we aren't necessarily on pace, which I feel like we've been on pace so far. I feel like everything's been moving in the direction we'd like it to, but it just feels good to be on the team again. I've been rocking with him for the past 3-4 years, and loyalty is a really big thing for me. So like I told him, I was like, hey, if I'm rocking with a coach, I'm rocking with you. I'm fine with rocking alone if you don't want to obviously rock with me just because I've been in prep for so long, and maybe you don't want to kind of hop in mid-prep, and that's understandable. But if you'd like to, if you kind of want to finish out with me, we can finish strong and then go for the pro card, and you want to be able to be there with me, I would love that. And we kind of had that conversation. He was like, dude, we got unfinished business. Let's get after it. I'm like, you're right. Let's get that work. So have check-in Saturday. That's cool. Very excited for that. And then kind of be able to give you guys that look. I'm going to send him the check-ins. After I send him the check-ins, I'm going to go ahead and post that on Instagram so you guys can see what we look like fresh in the morning. And when I send in check-ins on the weekends, I do want to kind of drop that every week for the next, we're closer to 9 weeks out now. So for the next 9 weeks, I want to drop every check-in I make or every check-in I send my coach, just so you guys can kind of see what we're looking like fresh in the morning. Most of the time you'll see me with a decent amount of carbohydrates, a decent amount of food behind me, to where I'm like, okay, this is what I look like. You're going to see the fuller version of me, but you're not necessarily going to see the depleted version. And with the extended cuts, I kind of want to incorporate that a little bit more. And I do plan on getting a third gym membership here. So right around 8 weeks out, 7 to 8 weeks out, depending on how I'm looking financially, I want to get the third gym membership, and they have a specific room for posing. So right after my cardio in the morning, I do want to get at least 10 to 20 minutes of posing in, do a lot of freestyle posing, and then just kind of train over there a little bit, just because they do have a lot of machines that I do prefer, especially for legs. I feel like that'll kind of elevate my leg game, and that'll make me that much better for obviously the next 15 weeks that we're in prep. 9 weeks for the first show, another 6 on top of that, so 15 total for the overall shows that I've planned for this year. And I think getting that extra gym membership will allow me to kind of elevate not only my posing, but elevate my training and really make sure I'm bringing the best package I possibly can to stage. So you guys, I mean, until then, you guys would just see the normal check-ins. You guys will see normal check-ins when I send them to them, and then obviously I'll drop them on Instagram for you guys. But I also want to give you, like, when I'm posing, when I'm doing my freestyle posing, that type of stuff in that specific room that they have for posing, I would love to be able to drop that on the extended cut, right? Because I dropped the normal lifting cut, which is just pretty much the intro, the gym, we yap for a little bit, then the outro, and that's the video. But with the extended cut, it's the things that I'm doing on the day-to-day that kind of are incorporated with bodybuilding. So that might be grocery hauls, that might be meal prep, which I do want to do a meal prep video. I just kind of have to map out my kitchen a little bit better, see how I want to set up the angles so you guys can see what I'm making, see how I prepare it. So I've been mapping that out for the past week, but I do want to kind of give you guys everything that goes into the show prep, right? I don't want to just give you the highlight reels. I don't want to just give you the light. I want to give you the work that I'm doing in the shadows, right? The things I'm not necessarily posting, but could post if I wanted to. But again, not necessarily posting because that's shadow work, right? To where I can give you guys the light, but I also want to provide both sides of that spectrum. So you guys get full transparency of how the prep's going to go. But with that being said, let's hit this last set, then we'll move on to biceps, boys. All right, boys. I'm going to set this up for a goal for some curls. Then we'll be able to get after it. But I'll catch you guys when I have it set up for curls. All right, boys. Let's get these curls. We're going to do wide grip curls. I like to do wide grip curls, but I'm thinking for the next two movements, we'll do inner rope curls and then wide pulling out. And that's just to be able to tag the bicep at a different head. We're kind of at a different angle. Hold on, boys. Let me adjust it real quick. Let me go ahead and fix the camera angle. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and get some curls in, boys. We got 3 more there. 3 more there, boys. But if you guys can't tell, if you haven't picked up, obviously I'm a nerd. Obviously, like, you can kind of pick up the subtle things within my videos. If you guys have watched every video, if you've been here from the start, you kind of pick up the little tidbits, little things that I do. So for those of you that don't know, my tattoos are anime references. My favorite anime is Hunter x Hunter. By far one of my favorite animes. And I really enjoy it just for specific reasons, right? But it also kind of is a little bit near and dear to my heart because my sister lived with me for 1.5 years. And she recently just moved out, but we watched that all the way through together. And that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. That was a really nice experience. And then Bleach. So with Bleach, that's just I've watched that since a kid. That's been one of my favorite animes since I was a kid. And that used to be one of the things that, like, when I'd go over to my dad's on the weekend and hang out with my brothers, we had a Bleach video game, so we used to always play that. And that was a vibe. And that was a vibe. And then when my dad would come home late from work, you know, we'd all sit by the foot of his bed and watch anime or Toonami together back in the day. So it's kind of near and dear to my heart. So my tats are anime references. And to kind of put a little bit of a cherry on top, my sister is the individual who does my tats. She does all my work. I will not go to anybody else. She will do whatever I end up getting for the rest of my life. So, and she's sweet, so I'd recommend go checking her out. But yeah, I'm a nerd. And then obviously you could see, I brought it up in a previous video. I got the symbol of sacrifice, the curse of sacrifice, the brand of sacrifice, aka the berserk mark. And I keep that on my neck just because every morning it reminds me, hey, we're sacrificing for a reason. We're in a cut. We're giving up all of these things for a goal, right? Giving up food. We're giving up the opportunity to go out. We're giving up everything I've given up so far, everything I'm going to give up in the future, everything I'm sacrificing with a goal in mind. So it kind of reminds me, keeps me locked. Every morning keeps me locked. So that's a win. But I'm a nerd, boys. I'm going to keep this stacked with you. I'm a nerd through and through. I've been a nerd since a little youngin'. But how I describe myself to a lot of people is just like, hey, I'm just a thick-necked nerd. I'm just a nerd whose hyperfixation is destroying his body and rebuilding it. In my off time, like it took me a long time to become the way I am now, to where like I'm fine with communicating. I'm not that shy in front of a camera anymore. I've built the extroverted version of me, right? I've just kind of learned these skills, put myself in environments where I had to become an extrovert year over year. But I'm an introvert by nature, boys. I am an introvert by nature. Let's hit this next set. But like I was saying, I'm an introvert by nature. Like a good time for me isn't necessarily going out. Like going out on the weekends is fun. I had that time frame in my life, you know, where I was going out, getting drunk, having a good time. Hey, that's fine. And I can acknowledge that's a good time. That's just not my cup of tea. A good time for me is like playing chess and watching anime. Maybe having a beer or two. And maybe if I do have a beer or two, just kind of sipping on it and yapping with the boys. You know, hanging out. Maybe going bowling. I really enjoy bowling. I really enjoy going to the Ren Fair. Oh, dude, the Ren Fair. I actually plan on this summer after prep hitting the Ren Fair, and I want to vlog that whole thing. So you guys can just peep me doing nerdy shit, and I'm excited for that. But I like doing nerdy stuff like that. Like that's my definition of a good time, is like being in the house on the weekends, getting my training in. After I get my training in, doing things like playing chess or watching anime, or if it's not anime, maybe it's like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is a banger. It's just like, and then when I'm in the off season, like just big back activities, you know, that's fun too. You know, eating food, that's real fun. It's real fun. But like I said in my previous video, we are going to be a little bit more strict, a little bit more on plan this off season. So a lot less cheat meals, a lot less cheat days. And that'll be fine. And if I do have a cheat meal or a cheat day, I will account for that throughout the week. Obviously, I'm going to be doing a lot more carb cycling when I'm in the off season compared to what I've done in the previous. I kind of like a flatline diet to where I know I'm consistently eating the same thing every day. It's just consistently. Okay, awesome. And I'm just eating the same thing. Makes prep easy, makes preparation work for the food easy. When I go to a grocery store, I know exactly where everything's at. I can just snag it. I don't have to wonder where anything is. It's kind of beautiful. It's very, very easy mentally. So I kind of prefer that. But with that being said, to kind of incorporate a little bit of foods that I want to during the off season, I will be incorporating a little bit more carb cycling, a little bit more obviously pushing and pulling of the fats and then carbohydrates. not pulling the fats or pushing the fats too heavy, but just enough to where on my cheat day or my cheat meal, I can kind of account for those extra calories coming from obviously fats and then obviously coming from carbohydrates as well. But I mean, right now, I kind of live by the flatline diet. I just find that it's a lot easier, especially in prep. The flatline diet is just, it's easier mentally, it's easier preparation work wise to where now it's just like I'll have 12 containers in my car, not in my car, in my fridge. I know those 12 containers are going to last me the next 3 days. I'm just, I'll grab a container, go. Grab a container, go. Grab a container, go. It just makes it a lot easier. It makes it a lot more strict to where I'm just, okay, I already know where it's at. I already have it prepped. Preparation was easy. It's the consistent variables. It's just the consistent variables for me, boys. I really fuck with that. But let's go ahead and hit this next set. One more. All right, boys. I'm gonna go grab the rope and then we'll get after the next couple sets. All right, boys, let's work. All right, 3 more, boys. All right, boys, let's get after this next set. All right, I want to say we got one more there, boys, and then we'll go out with it. All right, let's get this last set, boys. Ooh. All right, we're going to go out with it now. I'm going to go ahead, drop the weight a little bit, just because my biceps are cooked. And then I might be able to do a little bit of abs. I got to go to work still, boys, so kind of got to cook through it. But I think we might have time for some abs. All right, boys, let's hit this. Ooh, that's cooking me. We got 3 more there, boys. All right, boys, let's get this work. We got 2 more. All right, boys, let's work. Oh, 1 more set, boys. 1 more set there. All right, let's set, boys. Woo! All right, boys. I think we're gonna I do abs usually every other day, so we'll just probably do 2 or 3 sets. But I'll vlog that for you, boys. Hold on. All right, boys. Let's get a little bit of these abs. Two more, boys. All right, boys. Let's get this next set. Oh. All right, boys. As you can tell, my alarm is going off. I think that's a wrap for today. That being said, I'm gonna hit you boys with the outro. I'll see you there in the car. All right, boys, that's another one in the books. I feel like it was an overall good lift. I feel like I dropped some knowledge for you boys, and also feel free to fact check me. If you find some information that I may have been wrong on, please send me an article. I would love to learn more. One of the things that I tell people at the gym, it's like, dude, I've been doing this for 11 years. I'm always willing to learn. I'm always willing. There's always something out there that I can learn more on, right? So if you have an article that proves what I said wrong, or you have an article that kind of piggybacks off of what I said, or just an article that kind of expands off that, feel free to send it my way. I'm always willing to learn. I'm always eager to learn. And I would love to have discussions on like this topic. If you guys even have questions, feel free to like reach out to me. We'd have discussions for hours. Like I said, I'm a nerd. What I do on my weekends is work out and then go home, play chess, watch anime. At the end of the day, if you want to chit chat a little bit, I'm always down to chit chat. But that being said, I feel like it was a great lift, and that's another one in the books, boys. And I'll make sure to drop this. I want to drop this tomorrow, right? There was a little delay. I was having a little bit of technical difficulties, and that's because I got a new laptop specifically for editing, and it didn't upload the videos right away like I'd like to. I mean, that happens. It is what it is. But I want to drop this, have this out by Saturday. So with that being said, like I said, that's another one in the books, boys. And I feel like it was a great lift, and I'll catch you in the next video. What is up, boys? We're back with another video, extended edition. Usually I just throw on some music behind my lift, and that's kind of how we rock. But today I kind of wanted to extend on what I talked about in the morning lift. So I'm going to obviously drop that as its own exclusive video. But I wanted to also kind of talk a little bit more, go into depth, and then touch on a couple things that I didn't necessarily get to touch on. But with that being said, we got a little bit of agenda on the back half for the second lift of the day. So we're going to hit a little bit of shoulders. I want to say we got 2 front delts, and then it'll be 3 or 4. We'll probably end up doing 4 sides, 4 rears. So round it off for a total of 10 sets, anywhere from 36 to about 40 working movements. I mean, working sets. So 10 movements, about 40 working sets, maybe a little bit less. We'll probably end up going 36. But that's what we got on the agenda. A little bit of shoulders. Nothing too crazy, nothing too bonkers. But I'm going to go ahead, take the dry scoop to the dome, and then I'll see you guys inside. All right, boys, we're going to start with a little bit of side raises. Nothing too crazy. I always like to start with side raises or end with it. This is usually the starter or the ender. I usually start my pump with a nice pump off of it, or it's a nice little cherry on the top to end with shoulder day, you know? But with that being said, we're going to start with side delts, do some side raises here. Woo! We got 3 more there, boys. But like I said in the car, I did want to kind of piggyback off of what I was talking about earlier. With carb cycling, it's going to be a little bit more optimal to start carb cycling in the beginning of the week, right? To where if you don't run a flatline diet, I prefer the flatline like I brought up in the morning lift. But if you do want a carb cycle, what I'd recommend is kind of maybe doing your flatline calorie count Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday start pulling the carbohydrates, start pulling the lipids, get a little bit more aggressive the closer you get to the date that you're actually trying to go to the beach or do whatever you want to do. And then the day before, I would run a lower day, still train hard, still train heavy, but run a lower day. And then obviously the following day, you'll be able to kind of be in that technical surplus, but your calories overall for the week will still be the same, right? They'll still be the same. And then on top of it, from you running those low days and then high day right after, that'll help you fill out. And then your body will be able to work with the nutrients, work with the food a little bit better. So that's what I'd recommend for carb cycling. And then another thing you could do is water manipulation, right? So water manipulation is a thing that a lot of bodybuilders obviously utilize closer you get to show prep or closer you get to show date. But with that, it's just pretty much pumping in a large amount or higher amount of water that you're already intaking the week prior or the beginning of the week leading into the date that you're trying to go to the beach or the date that you're trying to do whatever you're trying to do. And then from there, as the week progresses, say Monday, you're drinking a gallon. Tuesday, you drink 1.25 gallons. Wednesday, you drink a gallon and a half. Thursday, you might go 2. Friday might go 2, to where your body's become accustomed to intaking that higher amount of water, to where it's constantly trying to flush it out. It's constantly trying to like push it out. And then the day that you're trying to go to the beach, or the day that you're trying to do whatever you want to do, then I would recommend like a gallon, right? Because then that gallon, what your body's going to do is it's going to keep trying to flush out the water at the pace of the 2 gallons, but you're only intaking a gallon, right? So this is going to dry you out. This is going to help suck up all that water, all that moisture that your body has. And that's going to really help overall the look when you're at the beach, right? I would also recommend, like, if you're trying to do that for a beach, or if you're doing that just for, I don't know, you're going on vacation or something like that, that's one thing that I would like obviously recommend. Try to like incorporate. That works better for maybe a 1-day activity, to where carb cycling might work better for like a 2-3 day activity, depending on how you structure it, right? So that's just something I would recommend. A little tidbit, a little tangent I give for the boys, for obviously summer's coming up, summer activities are coming up, and if you want to look your best, you know, kind of mog dudes on the beach, that's one way you can do it. You know what I mean? That's one way you can do it. A little tidbit, a little knowledge I picked up through the years. Share it with you boys, just to obviously share the wealth. Share the wealth. But with the water manipulation, your body's gonna keep pumping that out like it's at the 2 gallons. While you're only intaking a gallon, like I said, it'll suck you up. It'll really kind of bring out that vascularity and allow you to look dry. But I would recommend still incorporating at least a gallon or half of the water that you're intaking. A lot of bodybuilders will pretty much just cut water out the day of, which that'll give you the complete dry look. That'll really dehydrate you. But if you're going to the beach, you don't want to be dehydrated. You just want to look a little bit leaner. You want the vascularity to come out a little bit more. So I would still recommend trying to get in at least half of what you were already intaking. And then maybe in the morning you could hit the sauna. You could do a little bit extra cardio, get your training session in a little bit earlier, just so your body is burning calories, and then obviously sweating out all of that excess water on top of going to the bathroom and trying to flush it out, you know, just so you can look that much better when you get to the beach. But a little bit tidbit I wanted to piggyback off of earlier. I felt like I really didn't touch on that, and that was one of the things that I did want to touch on, kind of give you a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more gems, you know what I mean? So yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and hit this next set though, boys. Oh, boys, we're gonna have to drop the weight. That's heavy. That's heavy. We are training pretty much fasted. My last meal was, I want to say 3 hours ago. I wouldn't necessarily say it's training fasted, but I am training with pretty much no energy. I just feel like death, but we're gonna push through it, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna go ahead, switch out the weight, and I'll be right back, boys. Oh, all right, boys, 2 more sets here. I did drop to 45s. The 55s were cooking me, so we're gonna do 45 here, and then after this, we'll do 2 to 3 more side delts, switch to rear delts, and then finish her off with some fronts. But let's get to work. Woo! We got 1 more there, boys. 1 more there. All right, last set here, boys. Last set here. Oh, that's cooking me. All right, we're gonna go move the rope upright rows, boys. Switch over to cables. Actually, no, we'll do seated side raises, right? We'll do the machine, then we'll do upright rows, and then after that, I'm thinking we do the little ankle wrap side raises, right? I think that'll be optimal. So I'm gonna go ahead and set that up, but I'll catch you boys on the next lift. All right, boys, we got a little bit of side raises here, nothing too crazy, nothing too bonkers. Let me go ahead and adjust this real quick. There we go, that's better. One more. We got 3 more there, boys. All right, boys, let's work. We got the second set here. We got two more. Two more, boys. All right, boys, let's get after this next set. One more. That's cooking me. We got one more, boys. All right, boys, we got the last set here. Woo! Boys, I lied. We're only going to do 3 sides, 3 rears, and 2 fronts. I think I'm pretty spent. I'm running on fumes, so I think 8 movements will be optimal. You know, I think that'll be a good spot. That'll put us at 32 sets. I think that's green, especially since we're running off fumes today. But I'm gonna go set it up for upright rows, boys, and we'll get after that. All right, boys, we got a little bit of upright rows now. We're gonna do this for 4 sets, work here. After this, we'll do some face pulls and then do some rear delt face flies. You guys will see what I'm talking about. When we get there, you guys will see. But let's hit these upright rows, boys. One more. We got 3 more sets, boys. All right, let's get this next set, boys. We got 2 more, boys. All right, boys, let's get this next set. One more, boys. All right, boys, let's get after this last set. Woo! All right, we got a little bit of rear delts now. We do a little bit of face pulls here. Then after we do face pulls, we'll do reverse chest flies. After reverse chest flies, we'll do some cable crossovers, then move front delts. And after that, that'll be a wrap, boys. But I'm gonna go ahead and set it up for face pulls here. Then we'll be able to get after that work. All right, boys, let's get after this work. We're gonna do a little bit of chest supported face flies. My boy put me onto these. These are a game changer, a game changer. So it's nice. We got the chest supported here, and then it's just. That is a game changer, boys. And it's nice if your gym hasn't like a chest fly machine, you could set one up to support your chest. The other you can do the face pulls off of. I'm telling you, this is what really helps round out and get the striations that I have in my rear delts to pop out. This, you don't have to worry about leaning too hard. You don't have to worry about rocking. It is strict. You really get a good stretch in those rear delts. I would recommend checking it out. Honestly, I'm mad that it took me this long to even think of this, right? He put me on, I did it once, and I was like, that is a staple now. That is a staple. But I'm gonna go ahead and take a swig of water, then we'll be able to get after the next 3 sets, boys. All right, boys, we got the second set here. Let's get to work. We got 2 more there, boys. All right, boys, let's get after this work. We got 1 more there, boys. All right, boys, let's get this work. Well, I'm cooked. All right, I'm gonna go set up the reverse face chest flies. Reverse chest flies. There we go. Go set up the reverse chest flies. We'll be able to get after that work, boys. All right, boys, we got some cable crossovers here. got 3 more there, boys. All right, boys, let's get it. Two more, boys. Let's get this work, boys. One more. One more. All right, let's get it. Last set, boys. One more. All right, boys, I'm gonna keep it real with you. I am spent. I think I'm just gonna call it. I lost the pump. My body's just kind of like fatigued. I think that's because I'm running on fumes. The glucose is gone. So that being said, I'll catch you boys in the car. All right, boys. I feel like that was a pretty decent lift. I wouldn't say it was a necessarily good one, but I feel like it was a decent enough lift. We ended up doing 3 sides, 2 rears. Didn't end up touching front delts, but I felt like my front delts were kind of still cooked from when I did them 2 days ago with upper chest. So I was like, you know what? Okay, we'll kind of ease back on the front delts. I did like a warm-up press, and I could kind of feel the tweak. And I was like, all right, we're kind of at that phase in prep where injury is very likely if I push it past kind of where I could, you know. If I had some carbs, if I had a little bit more food, maybe even some more water in my muscles, a little bit of fluff, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable, just kind of push through it. But we're the last 10 days, not 10 days, we're in the last 10 weeks of prep. This is where the likelihood of injury starts to increase, right? Because we're getting leaner, we're getting drier, and with dryness, with leanness comes muscle fatigue, and then obviously the risk for injury increases. So it is what it is. I mean, it happens, and that's okay. We'll just be able to get after it next week. With that being said, I enjoyed talking to you boys. I enjoyed dropping a little bit of knowledge. I'm going to go home, not get another meal in. I'm going to go home, drink a little bit of water, edit some content for you boys, and then go to sleep. We got a nice little early one tomorrow. We got check-ins. So you guys will see that. You guys will see that. The first check-ins that I've actually been dropping for the boys will be tomorrow. So that'll be nice. Kind of touch base with my coach, kind of see what he's thinking, see how we're feeling. I feel like we're at a good spot, but, you know, definitely kind of want to get his opinion on that. So with that being said, I will catch you boys in the next video.